Well, it seems that Insomniac Games has huge plans for Silk, also known as Cindy Moon, who was one of the brand new spider heroes introduced at the end of Marvel's Spider-Man 2. And with a big post-credit scene, and with the tons of leaks we've got over the last year, we know that Insomniac Games has huge plans for Silk, and it's likely that we would have already seen the character by now, but we'll break it all down in this video. Please also go ahead and check out Balboamania Infinity, my other superhero games update channel, and leave a like on this video so it reaches more people, and comment down below if you think Gwen Stacy should be the next spider hero introduced in the Insomniac Marvel universe. Let's start off with the ending of Marvel Spider-Man 2, where Cindy Moon was introduced in the post-credit scene as she is introduced by her father to Miles, and we get a shot of her from the back confirming that she is younger than Miles. And although there was nothing in the leaks about her appearing in the potential Spider-Man 2 DLC, it was possible that we could have got another post-credit scene, maybe revealing that she did have spider powers already. One of the major DLCs that was going to be part of Spider-Man 2 was the Into the Spider-Verse DLC, which would have featured heavy multiversal elements, likely setting up the Spider-Man the Great Web game, which would have been an online Spider-Man game where you would have been able to create your own spider hero and fight the multiversal threat like a Venomized Sandman, the Green Goblin, different versions of Rhino, and so much more. So I believe that in this Into the Spider-Verse DLC, which was slated to be the last DLC, it's highly likely that they would have shown off Cindy Moon already have been bitten by a spider and revealing that she already has spider powers, likely setting up Miles and Cindy and Peter for the Great Web game. It also looked like the Great Web Online game was slated for 2024 to 2025 and would have heavily featured Peter Parker, Miles Morales, and Cindy Moon. Now, the concept art of Spider-Man the Great Web had a bunch of information and reveals about Cindy Moon and her character, and would have probably revealed a lot about Cindy Moon so she would be ready to go in Spider-Man 3. So it does seem like the plan was that the Into the Spider-Verse DLC would have likely revealed that Cindy Moon had already had her powers and likely given us our first look at her costume, and then the Great Web would have already formed the relationship between all three spider heroes, as Cindy Moon would have been pushed into her first big threat in protecting the multiverse with Peter and Miles. And it does seem that this would have been canon, as these are the Insomniac versions of these characters that is shown in the concept art. Now, there is the Origin Stories concept art for Great Web, which reveals that Cindy Moon Silk actually shoots web from her fingertips and that she wears a black and white suit with a red face mask. Her origin story is revealed to be that she was bitten by a spider on her ankle, and it also looks like this actually takes place in a science lab. Now, the Great Web would have had us controlling our custom characters, but the concept art of the game does show our main version of the Insomniac interpretations of the spider heroes fighting against various villains, so perhaps we would have been able to play as Miles, Peter, Cindy, or even Gwen in certain story missions, or perhaps that would have been reserved for cutscenes. The concept art reveals that Cindy Moon alongside Gwen, Peter, and Miles would have faced the Rhino, Mysterio, a Venomized version of Sandman, symbiotes like Scream and Venom, along with other symbiotes behind them, Vulture, and likely much more, as there was concept art of the Green Goblin in this game and Doc Ock. However, Cindy Moon wasn't in these shots, but it's likely she would have encountered them through missions as well. This also shows that Cindy Moon has met spider heroes like Ben Reilly, Miguel O'Hara, the Spider-Man 2099, Maybelle Riley, the Lady Spider, and what looked like to be Anna May Parker, who also goes by Spiderling or Nestling. Now, it's very likely that a lot of the main story points of this game would have been canon to the series, as the Spider-Man 2 DLC would have set up the multiverse, along with the tease from the base game side quest, which also teased the Into the Spider-Verse multiverse with the Spider-Bots mission. By the time that Spider-Man 3 rolls around, Silk would be incredibly experienced through her multiversal outings with the other spider heroes, and would likely be ready to even take on an entire city as the solo spider of that city by herself. So it's very likely that in 2024-2025, if we were to have gotten the Great Web, we would have been able to already have now seen Cindy Moon's official Insomniac origin, her suit, and her even building relationships with the other spider heroes, along with her traveling the multiverse, and maybe even being able to control her during some campaign missions. I really wish we would have gotten the Spider-Man the Great Web game, as this is one of the online project live service Sony games that I would have been extremely excited about. And I think concept and the ideas for the game were very, very solid, and the Spider-Man IP is so strong, especially with all this multiversal elements. There was so much potential here for this game. It's so sad that it's not going to be made. Hopefully somehow Sony can resurrect it, maybe go back to the drawing board and somehow greenlight this game with either Insomniac or maybe a different studio with support from Insomniac. Moving on on to the Venom game, with the belief that it's still on the way in 2025 hopefully, it is believed that this game is going to have 3 playable spider heroes according to the leaked information. Now this leaked information is coming from official Insomniac presentations for the game, but it does not specify the 3 playable spider heroes, one of course being Venom, and it's likely the other 2 were Peter Parker and Miles. I don't think Silk would have been a playable hero. The other possibility was that it could be Miles and Silk, since Peter is kind of taking a break from being the Spider-Man, but as this game was going to deal with symbiotes and also likely feature something to do with Carnage, it's likely that one of the spider heroes would have been Peter Parker, but it is very possible that we could get our first playable mission as Silk in this game, maybe through the Venom game, as it's said to be a bridge between Marvel Spider-Man 2 and 3, could now tell the origin of Silk and kind of form that relationship. Since Spider-Man The Great Web is no longer coming out, this game could show that origin and form that relationship at least between Miles and Cindy, and her first big threat could be assisting Venom alongside Miles, maybe even Peter, to kind of establish her presence in their group so they don't need to tell that story in Marvel Spider-Man 3. To give a bit of time to Silk in the Venom game is very possible, as there was a lot of character arc and story development for her character within the Great Web game that will no longer be coming out, so telling it in the Venom game could make some sense. So moving on to a game that she's definitely going to appear in and be a playable character is of course Marvel Spider-Man 3, where we have already got some leaked gameplay of an extremely early build of Spider-Man 3 when early version of Silk was playable. Now after watching this gameplay, very much is the exact same map of Marvel Spider-Man 2, just with Silk, who has her own animation flares to web swinging, but is very similar to the fluidity of Miles' character, and we even get a shot of one of the suits that could be available in the game. Now Marvel Spider-Man 3, by the creative director Brian Intihar himself, has described the game as being the end game of the Marvel Spider-Man trilogy. And looking at the lineup for this game, we have characters like Doc Ock, Green Goblin, who's going to be the main protagonist of this game, alongside having villains like Chameleon. Carnage is still unresolved, the Spider-Verse was also teased, and they've also got to tell the story of Peter Parker, likely coming out of a part-time role, story of Miles Morales being the main Spider-Man of New York City, and now also Cindy Moon, where if her character isn't explored in the Venom game, then they would have to go through a bunch of story with her in Spider-Man 3. They even set up Null in Spider-Man 2, but whether that is explored in the Venom game or Marvel Spider-Man 3, we'll have to wait and see. But it just shows how much story is going to be told in Marvel Spider-Man 3, or potential story, and Cindy Moon will likely have a major character arc that explores her story even deeper, as she will be one of the playable spider heroes within Marvel Spider-Man 3. Now Marvel Spider-Man 3 is slated, according to the leaks, for a 2028 release date, but it's very likely by that time things have been changed, and I guess the realistic timeline could be anywhere between 2027 to 2029. Now I should also mention that there is a new IP, according to the leaks, scheduled for 2031 to 2032, and although this could be an entirely new IP, it could very much be a Silk solo game, as after Marvel Spider-Man 1 they did a Miles solo game to establish his character even more, and after Marvel Spider-Man 2 there are plans for a Marvel's Venom game to establish the symbiote's presence in the future of the Insomniac Spider-Man universe, and now after Marvel Spider-Man 3 that's going to be an extremely stacked game with the cancellation of the Great Web. It's very likely that this new IP, or they could then later plan for a Silk solo game to explore her character even further and to set up the future of the Marvel Spider-Man universe, like the next Spider-Man game, Marvel Spider-Man 4, or maybe even hopefully resurrecting the Great Web, which would be absolutely incredible. I think from Insomniac's track record, it's very likely that we will be getting a Silk solo game after the release of Marvel Spider-Man 3 to have her unlock some new abilities and to progress her story even further. I also think that would be a very good time to introduce her to a brand new city and maybe have Silk as the main spider of that city, or they could even go and do something crazy like a multiverse story and have these characters that we would have seen in the Great Web like Anna May Parker, the Lady Spider, Spider-Gwen all appear, and have a Spider-Girls team type game where each one of these spider heroes have unique abilities. But it does very much seem that Cindy Moon Silk will have a huge role moving forward, as it's very likely she's going to remain one of the main spider heroes of New York City, as Peter will likely retire at the end of Marvel Spider-Man 3. So the new dynamic will be Miles and Cindy as the two new spider heroes taking on the full-time role of the Spider-Man. Again, hopefully Sony somehow makes the decision of resurrecting the Great Web, as I think that was a very missed opportunity. Hopefully they find the right team that can commit to doing it, as as I believe that Insomniac do want to focus on single player storytelling. I really hope that Sony can get a team to make this game. I think with the leaks, it shows that the fan base really does want this game. Let me know in the comment section below, were you excited for the Great Web once you saw it? And hopefully we can pray to get this thing made. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Go ahead and check out my Venom video and also the Insomniac 2025 plan. And please go ahead and subscribe to @BalboaManiaInfinity, my new superhero games channel, where if you like this video, you're gonna see more like this on that channel. That's dedicated to Marvel and DC and other superhero games. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like on this video so it reaches more people. Again, comment down below, do you think Gwen Stacy should be the next spider hero to join the Insomniac team after Sil? Guys, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to BalboaManiaInfinity, and I hope to see you on my next video. Take care, guys.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my